What is up, everybody? It's good to see all your smiling faces. I know it's been a minute since I have vlogged, and there's a reason for that, and I'm actually going to talk about it in this video, and hopefully it'll help you in whatever stage of life you're in right now. But before I get to any of that, I need to actually go pack and get some things ready, because we're actually going to be leaving town tomorrow, going to Texas to preach a revival, and then we're going from there to North American Youth Congress. So if you're going to be there, drop a comment down below. I would love to connect with you and see you. But right now, I'm going to go make some coffee and get packed. Okay, so a lot's happened since the last time I vlogged. One major thing is we had a kid, which is a pretty big deal. Second major thing that took place is we have transitioned full-time into evangelizing, and the latest news you may have seen on the socials, me and a friend are starting a podcast where we're going to be striving to equip and to help the generation coming behind us. So yeah, some pretty major things have happened, and I wish that all of these things were the reason why I haven't vlogged since December, but the truth is I'm actually scared. You see, week after week, I would make all these excuses as to why I wasn't vlogging weekly. I would say things like, we just had a kid, which, that's a pretty good excuse. 2, I'm just really busy. 3, we're transitioning into full-time evangelism. And honestly, those are part of the reasons why I haven't been vlogging, but they're not the only reasons. The biggest reason, when I was finally honest with myself, is that I am just petrified. I'm scared to death. And you might be thinking, what in the world are you scared of? Well, as transitioning into full-time evangelist, I was scared of what people would think of me. Because doing this may begin to look like I am trying to promote myself, trying to get ahead in ministry, and that scared me to death. I didn't want my burden of ministering to as many people as possible through the medium of social media and YouTube to get misunderstood as, oh, he's just trying to promote his ministry. And it just shut me down, and no one actually said anything to me. That's the crazy part. This was all in my head. But it crippled a burden of mine, which is to teach and equip and edify people through this medium of video, until I came across some scriptures in my daily Bible reading. Galatians 1:10 says, "For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ." And then again in 1 Thessalonians 2:4, Paul says, "But just as we have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel, so we speak, not to please man, but to please God who tests our heart." Paul was saying some very clear things here in these two passages. He was saying if I were still doing what everybody wanted me to do, I would still be a Pharisee, wouldn't even be following Christ. Then in Thessalonians he says, I am going to speak the gospel, not to please man, but to please God. Paul then says in 1 Thessalonians, I've been entrusted with the gospel, with the word, so I'm going to speak it, not to please anybody but God. So I finally reconciled in my mind that God knows my heart. He knows why I'm doing this. And on top of that, I can't do anything to stop people from thinking what they want to. That's your freedom. But I also can't allow what people think of me to keep me from doing what God has called me to do.
Now I want to be very clear right here. That doesn't mean that as a disciple of Christ, I can now just do whatever I want to, have some rogue attitude, and not worry at all about how people perceive me. Because Paul says this in 2 Corinthians, "For we aim at what is honorable, not only in the Lord's sight, but also in the sight of man." We aren't trying to be men pleasers, but as disciples, we are striving to be honorable in the sight of men so that our good deeds aren't ill spoken of. This all got me to thinking, how many people watching this are not pursuing their God calling because they're worried about what somebody is thinking of them? Prayerfully, this video will help you.
You see, Proverbs 11 tells us that where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. First thing is, what you're feeling to do, is it even biblical? Once you get past that question, then you can take this calling and you can then submit it to a godly elder, to a pastor, and then to a peer. Not one or the other. I recommend all three. This way, when you explain to them this calling and why you feel to do it, they can defend you when people misunderstand what it is that you're actually doing. Not only this, but they can also provide you feedback, and they can let you know whether you're being honorable in front of people or not. This provides safety. And here's the clincher. Even after all of that, there's still more than likely going to be people who think negatively towards what you're doing. When this happens, there's nothing you can do about it. There's no sense in getting mad about it. Just rest in the fact that you are doing what God has called you to do. There are people in your inner circle who know why you're doing that. And then just let eternity tell the story. And here's a little side note. Don't get caught up in calling everybody a hater. The people that are thinking negatively towards you may just not understand, and they deserve you explaining it to them.